have 5 more chapters left in this book and I am losing my mind. Unfortunately, this one was a miss for me. It just... Greetings internet, it's Monica, and today I am so excited because I am going to be filming a video that I have been wanting to film for months and months and months, and today I am beginning my reading books that went viral on TikTok vlog, or books I discovered on TikTok, mix of both. I have been on TikTok for a couple of years now, basically right after it transitioned from Musical.ly to TikTok is when I joined, and I think one of my favorite things that I've seen on the app is the growth of the booktok community there, which, if you're unfamiliar, is basically very similar to booktube. It's people who talk about books on TikTok. So yeah, I'm a big BookTok fan. I've occasionally dabbled into the world of BookTok myself, but for the most part I am a viewer, and I love that world, and I really wanted to just kind of celebrate it and talk about the books that I've discovered through BookTok. And I'm gonna start off by telling you a bit about my TBR, and through that I'll tell you about how I discovered each of these books. So a couple of these books I'm reading because they went like super viral on TikTok. One of them is a book that I had never heard of before TikTok. So without further ado, I'm gonna dive on in. So the first book I want to talk about is one that I have definitely had on my radar for a really long time, but BookTok is what really convinced me to finally pick it up, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Honestly, BookTok also very much so convinced me to pick up this specific edition, which is just the most beautiful. Absolutely adore it. This is a retelling or reinterpretation of the Odyssey, and in it we're following Patroclus and Achilles, and they are two boys who I believe grow up together and I think fall in love. I've heard that, maybe? I think based on the TikToks I've seen, I'm pretty sure that is what happens in this book. I don't really know much else about it. I think this is Madeline Miller's debut novel. I think it was this one, and then Circe came out. And yeah, again, this is one that I've always wanted to pick up, but TikTok really convinced me. You are leaking.
Who do you think the hottest girl in school is?
The Epcot ball.
Well, I like Melanie, and not just because she's pretty. I think she's really funny.
Hey, this is day 1 of me reading The Song of Achilles. This is me finishing it!
So many videos where people have just like talked about how deeply this book has affected them, and I've seen lots of crying videos, which makes me very nervous. So yeah, we'll see how I get along with this one. This one I can't attribute to one singular person, but I will link some of my favorite TikToks related to this book in the description box below, because this one is just like, when I'm on my For You page, I feel like once a day for a good like 2 weeks I was constantly getting Song of Achilles TikToks. So I was like, okay, I will get this book and I will finally read it. I hear you, BookTok, I will do it. So very excited for this one. The next book I actually discovered from a specific BookToker, and that BookToker is Sadie Reads, who is one of my absolute favorite creators on the platform. I just love her content and her whole like aesthetic. She gives really great recommendations, especially within fantasy, and she posted a video about her favorite books of 2020, and this was one of them, and it was the first time I had ever heard of this book. Before then, this book was never on my radar, and as soon as she described it, I was like, yes, I need that in my life. And so that is The First Sister by Lyndon A. Lewis.
Hello! Today I would like to chat about my favorite books of 2020. To be honest, I didn't really have that great of a reading year, but I still have 3 books and 1 series to talk about today. Next up, we have The First Sister by Lyndon A. Lewis. This book took me completely by surprise. It is an adult sapphic science fiction.
Yeah, that was really all I needed to know, and I immediately went and purchased it. So yeah, this one, I ended up reading more about it, and it just sounds so fascinating. It's set in the future, and Earth has like gone onto other planets within the solar system and has advanced technologically to basically be able to colonize different planets within the solar system. And there are two main empires within this universe. One is very religion based and the other is more like science based. So in it we follow a woman who is basically forced into like sexual slavery on this army's ship, and she is the first sister, so she's basically like, she belongs to the captain of the ship. So we follow her, and so she is part of the more religious empire, and then we follow a soldier from the more science-based empire, and then there's also Hero, who is non-binary, and they are a defector from the science-based world. But I was just really excited about the diversity within this story, and also just like the concept of having like multiple planets and like having this whole empire just sounds really cool. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into this one. And then I love the different roundups that people do on BookTok. So like, for example, like books that remind me of this aesthetic, or books that remind me of this song. For example, this one, which was Book Couples That Make Me Want My Own Epic Love Story. Seeing this TikTok was my first time finding out about the book A Touch of Darkness, which is a romance novel that is a Hades and Persephone retelling. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I love Hades and Persephone. Anything. Give me it all. I love it so much. Yes. So when I heard about this, I was like, oh, I should look that up. And then I forgot about it. I saved it to like my saved area in TikTok, but I moved on with my life. And then promptly after that, I just kept getting non-stop videos featuring A Touch of Darkness. And so again, I was like, okay, I get it, TikTok, I will get this book. So I ended up picking that one up. It's actually on Amazon Unlimited. So I just did a free trial of Amazon Unlimited. So I'm going to be reading it through that. It's also available as an audiobook through Scribd, so I might do both. But yeah, I was really excited when I just found out about this like Hades Persephone romance. I have really high hopes because I love Hades Persephone. That's all I really know about it. I think like Hades has like an underworld gambling universe or something. I'm not really certain. I don't really need to know anything else. As soon as I heard Hades and Persephone romance novel, I was like, okay, I need this. So that is the third book. So the final book that I'm planning on reading for this video is Kingdom of the Wicked, and this is another one that I think was like maybe on my radar at one point, but I never really had a huge drive to pick it up until I saw a Mun's video on it. So Mun has this whole series that she does on TikTok called Shut Up and Read, where she basically tells you to sit down, shut up, and read this book. And I just love her energy. She's so fun, and I love her recommendations. I'm actually also going to be reading another book because she recommended it, and it's Legendborn, and I'm actually very excited because I think it's going to be the Magical Girl book club pick for February. So I'm not sure when this video is gonna go up, but I am really hyped for that. But yeah, she made a video all about Kingdom of the Wicked and really sold me on it. She basically said it was like the ultimate enemies to lovers.
Stop what you're doing, shut up, and read this book. This one right here, Kingdom of the Wicked.
And I've been looking for something really good and angsty like that. I feel like that plus A Touch of Darkness are going to like fulfill all of my like angsty romance needs. So I'm really excited for it. So in this book we follow Amelia, who lives in 19th century Palermo, Sicily, and her family runs a restaurant, and at the beginning of the novel she finds out that her sister has been murdered. She wants to claim vengeance for her sister. She ends up summoning a demon demon, the demon of wrath, in order to help her in this journey. And I love a demon. So I'm excited for this. Sounds really good. Sounds super angsty yet again. And yeah, I just, you tell me someone's a demon and I'm like, yes, sold. So yeah, that is my TBR for this video. But I think the first book I'm gonna start with is The First Sister, because I'm just really in the mood for some sci-fi. So yeah, this is gonna be my first pick. Also, I'd love to hear from you all. Do you watch BookTok? What are some books that you've discovered from BookTok? Who are some of your favorite BookTokers? Let me know in the comments down below. Or if you read any of these books, I'd love to know your thoughts. But yeah, that's all for now. I will see you in the next clip with updates about The First Sister. So I have started The First Sister. I am currently 82 pages into it. I'm on chapter 7 and I am loving this book so far. It is so good. I am just totally enamored with the world building. So basically the story takes place on like all of the inner planets of our solar system, and like Earth, humans have moved to all the different planets, and so there's all these different like what sort of governments basically, and there's like different interplanetary wars, so there's lots of like intrigue, and there's just so much happening, and I'm obsessed with it. I'm so excited to see where this book is going. I love the writing. I am super invested in all of the characters, and they're just like, everyone is so unique. You have one character who they cut out her tongue, and so she never talks, and so you just get like her thought process during her chapters. And then there's also a character who is non-binary. Love them. Hero, one of my faves. And we're like slowly getting a little bit more info about like what's going on with them, and I'm just really fascinated by their whole plot line. And then you have like this soldier, and like just disgraced soldier, and his plot line, and I'm just very invested and excited by how much I am loving this book so far. So yeah, an awesome start. So it's a couple of days later and I'm about halfway through The First Sister. I'm still really enjoying it. I will say that I think some of the pacing, or not pacing, but like I kind of wish that there was a bit more development in some of the relationships. But I'm really loving it overall. Like the plot and the world and where everything is going is just so good. Honestly, I feel like this is a book that, at least as far as I'm into it now, I really think fans of the 5th season would really enjoy. There's just something about the writing, the world, that I feel like both audiences would really like. So yeah, I'm halfway through. I'm hoping to finish it early this week. It is Monday, and that is my plan, because then I can move on to the rest of my TBR. I'm also in the midst of a new crochet project. I am working on a whole strawberry extravaganza. I actually started this a while back and I had to pause it to work on my pastel cardigan and finally finish that. So now I'm back working on this strawberry set that I have been wanting to finish for ages. So yeah, that is my plan for this evening. It's actually pretty late, so I should go to bed soon, but yeah. Okay, so first of all, more progress is made on my hat. Second of all, I have 5 more chapters left in this book and I am losing my mind. Yeah, it's a wild time. I'm really liking this one. So I finished The First Sister and I really enjoyed this book. I highly recommend this one. If you are looking for a really good sci-fi, you should definitely pick this one up. I especially recommend the audiobook because they got a full cast. I also really appreciate that the person that they got to do the voice of Hero in the audiobook is also non-binary. I thought that was amazing, and Japanese. So yeah, I loved that. And overall, I really liked this book. It had so many good like twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. It also was like a pretty fast read. Like it's pretty short. Like this author doesn't like, they just fit a lot into a a short amount of space, which I really appreciate. But at the same time, they create this really like complicated and interesting universe, which is like so hard to do in my opinion. So yeah, I just really liked this one, and I'm so interested to see where it's going. I definitely will be picking up the second one. It comes out this summer, so I cannot wait for that. But yeah, Sadie did not let me down. This book was amazing. Hello my loves. So I am currently in the midst of reading Kingdom of the Wicked, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm just a couple of chapters in, but I'm doing the audiobook and reading along with the ebook, and I love the audiobook. It's so beautifully done. Like, it opens up so atmospheric and really just like pulls you right into the story. So love that. Definitely recommend the audiobook. The prequel was like amazing. Totally caught my interest, made me really intrigued, and now I'm just like really interested in this family and the magic that they have, because apparently they are witches. They're a family of Strega, I think that's what they call themselves, but they're basically like witches, and they have to hide their powers because they don't want to be hunted. So I think that's really interesting, and I'm super intrigued just to like see what happens. So I'm very much so at the very beginning of this book, but also really enjoying it so far. So I am now in chapter 12, and I'm still really liking the book and the mystery that's being built up. I will say that I kind of feel like things are moving, like they're just moving so fast, and I kind of wish that we were spending a bit more time developing like all of the emotions. But we have just met Wrath, and I'm really excited to see like just to learn more about his character and like the princes and all of that. I will say that they have literally just met, and they're already like referencing the attraction there, and so like for me, like yes, they definitely have like that enemies I hate you kind of vibe. I kind of wish that, yeah, that was a bit more of a slower build, but yeah, I don't know, I'm liking it. I'm not loving it right now, so that's where I'm at. So I'm currently on chapter 13, and I'm still really liking the book. I still like the audiobook is so good. Like, I love how they do they have a little bit of a soundtrack, like when a really intense thing is happening, they like play this like really intense music that I think heightens what's going on in the books even more. So I really like that. I wish more audiobooks did that. And then even like when like spooky voices are talking, like they did this really cool like vocal effect that I loved a lot. So yeah, the audiobook is a great time. Story wise, we have met Wrath. We've literally just met him. I feel like right now I'm getting a lot of like info dumping because there's just like a lot of information, and so like that feels a little bit out of place. Like, I'm just like, I really don't think that this like eternal prince would give you all this information, but whatever, it's fine. What else am I feeling? It's definitely a fun time so far, and I am intrigued to see where everything is going and like what's going on, because like we're sort of at the beginning of the mystery of what happened to Amelia's sister. So yeah, I have no idea like what might have happened there. So I have finished Kingdom of the Wicked. I was reading it on my Kindle and also on my as an audiobook, and I enjoyed it. I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to. I think for me, I loved the world, I loved the setting, I loved the magic. I thought all of that was super unique and really like sucked me in at the very beginning. I was totally sold on all of that. I loved Amelia's relationship with her grandmother, and I just like loved all the bits of Italy that we got in the book. I didn't love the plot. The plot felt to me, I don't know, it like started to feel really inconsistent. Like, I liked some of the twists, but I felt like things were going so fast and these like leaps were being made, and I just wanted better build up for that, you know? And then as far as the like relationship element, I I don't know, it was fine. I didn't feel a ton of chemistry personally between the two characters, between Wrath and Amelia. What I really want when it comes to enemies to lovers is like, I want you to be enemies, like legitimate enemies. You hate each other, and like I as the reader also want to feel a hatred towards that person, and then I want the book to slowly get me to root for your romance. And then yeah, so unless it's like that, and this book was definitely not like that, but that's obviously more of a personal preference. I thought the ending was really good, and it made me very interested to pick up the next one whenever that comes out, or if it's out. I'm not really sure when this book even came out, but it, you know, it has me interested in future stories, and I really did like Amelia's character. And I really liked the magic and the mystery within it. I just struggled, I think, with the plot and the romance. It just didn't hit for me the way that I wanted it to, which is a sad day. So yeah, not my favorite, but I didn't hate it, so there's that. So yeah, I think I'm gonna head to bed though, and pick up something new in the morning. I am a few chapters into Song of Achilles, and I'm really loving it. Like, I don't want to put this book down. I just want to keep reading. I just love the way that it's written, and I just love the way it's written, and I love Achilles and Patroclus. I keep mispronouncing Patroclus. I think that's how you say it. Let me know if I'm saying that wrong, but I just love them so much. And yes, it is gay. They are in love. I love them. I love their love. Yeah, the yearning is so good and so real, and it like, just watching them come together has been amazing. At this point, they just got to basically where Achilles is going to be trained, and I love this like little utopia universe that they have with Chiron, and I just don't want it to end. Also, it did take me a minute to not picture Danny DeVito in the role, but yeah, I love it so much so far, and I love their love, and I just want good things. Guys, I'm about to cry. I'm like on chapter 15, and I just remembered the phrase Achilles heel and what that means. I don't know. I'm very distraught. I'm very stressed. I'm still loving it. Like, I love the writing style of this book. It is bonkers to me that this is Madeline, wait, what's her name? Madeline Miller. Yeah, this is Madeline Miller's first book. That's wild. Cannot believe. Imagine being so good. But I'm loving it. It's brilliant. I don't want to put it down. I'm flying through it. I honestly don't usually fly through books this fast, but I like might finish this today. So that's wild. Hello, so it is a bit later in the evening, and I have this much left of this book. I just have not been able to put it down. I'm really liking it. It's actually really funny because I opened TikTok, and on my For You page, one of the first videos was a like aesthetic for this book. I just thought that was really funny, and also kind of creepy, but oh well. But yeah, I'm still really enjoying it. I will say that I find myself not as connected to the story as I did at the beginning when they were when Achilles and Patroclus were younger. I just felt like it was a lot more, like, you got more character growth, and now that they're just sort of like in the war, I'm really bad at reading war and like battles and stuff like that. Like, that's just like, I have a hard time following it sometimes, but I still am just rooting for them, even though I'm pretty sure I'm rooting for sadness. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But the writing is really beautiful. I will say that is 100% for sure. The writing is stunning. So I fear that I know how this is going to end. Yep, that's all. That's the update. Well, I finished. Hello, so it is the next day and I am definitely still reeling a bit from Song of Achilles. I actually spent this morning building a whole playlist inspired by the book. So yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be in mourning over that book for a little bit. But today I'm starting my third book that I discovered from TikTok, and it's one of the ones that went viral, A Touch of Darkness. I don't really know anything about this book except that it is a Hades Persephone retelling, and I love Hades Persephone, so I'm excited to start it. Okay, so I'm a few chapters into A Touch of Darkness. I ended up doing the audiobook and I like it so far actually. I think it's really fun. I think the like reinterpretation, sorry my camera died, but as I was saying, I think the reinterpretation of Greek mythology is really fun. Like Persephone is basically a college student and like all the Greek gods and people are real and like the myths, but it's put into this like modern universe. So yeah, I just really like the world that the author has created, and I will say that my big issue is that I kind of wish we got a bit more character work with both Hades and Persephone, but I still do like the characters. I definitely would recommend this one if you are a big fan of Lore Olympus. So far, I don't know, I haven't finished it yet. I'm only a few chapters in, so, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting and I'm enjoying it. It's a fun time. So it is a few hours later. I'm about halfway through this book, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It is very much so like adult romance kind of storytelling, but I really like the romance in it so far because it, like, there is obviously a lot of attraction, but it's much more of a slow burn, which I appreciate. I think for me the one thing that is a bit of a struggle is like, especially reading it right after reading Song of Achilles, which is so lyrical and beautifully written. So the writing of this is like much more simplistic, which is fine, but there is that part of me that's like, oh, I just like, all of this is so good. Imagine if it was written in a more effervescent style, for lack of a better word, but I am really enjoying it. I also decided to look it up on Goodreads, and I've learned that it's apparently a whole series, and I could honestly see myself reading the whole series potentially, like if I continue to like the book as much as I am liking it so far. Yeah, that might be a thing. Hi friends, so it's a couple days later and I wanted to come on and basically wrap up this whole video. So over the course of this video, I read 4 books that I either discovered because of TikTok or was convinced to read because of TikTok. So I started with The First Sister, then I read Kingdom of the Wicked, followed by The Song of Achilles, and then ending it off with A Touch of Darkness. So I didn't talk about my final thoughts on The Touch of Darkness, so I will start off with that first. I think my last clip talking about it, I was saying how I was liking that it was a bit more of a slow burn romance, and I need to take that back because it for sure was not. Honestly, this was definitely a much more explicit romance than what I was expecting, and I, to be honest, don't typically go out of my way to read those kinds of books. However, I'm actually very glad that I read this one because it was just so entertaining. Like, I legitimately loved the world that this was set in, and I felt like you could really tell that the author had like a big love for Greek mythology, and it was really fun as a reader to like find all the little like allusions and like references to Greek myth. So I really enjoyed that about it. It honestly, and this was definitely backed up by the fact like at the end of the book the author writes about how they wrote a lot of this during like on Tumblr and like shared a lot of it on Tumblr, and like honestly reading it reminded me a lot of like being on Tumblr and reblogging Hades Persephone content like back in the day. So if that was you, I feel like you will enjoy this book. With that being said, I do think I personally would have enjoyed this book more had there been more depth with especially like the two main characters with Hades and Persephone. I always love to have more of a slow build and deeper characters, and if the plot had been a bit more solid, it was a little bit all over the place to be honest. But like regardless, I thought it was again a really fun book. So yeah, I think with that one I'm probably gonna end up giving it like 3 stars, 3.5 stars. Like I thought it was fun. I liked it. Is it like a groundbreaking piece of fiction that I'm gonna go back and reread? No. Am I gonna read every single book in that entire series? Probably. Really excited about the fact that apparently she is also writing the entire series from Hades' perspective, so got that to look forward to. So yeah, I don't know, 3.5, 3 stars. It's good. If you want that kind of book, I think you should pick it up. So yeah, going back to the beginning, the first book that I read was The First Sister. This is the one that I discovered because of Sadie from over at Sadie Reads on TikTok, and I really enjoyed this one. I think this might end up being one of my like favorite book series, especially like if the second one is as strong or stronger than this first entry into the series. But yeah, this book was seriously fantastic, and I can totally see why Sadie had this as one of her top books for 2020. What I really love about this book is that you follow these 3 totally unique and different perspectives. Like those are some of my favorite stories, is when you have multiple perspectives who are completely separate from each other and just like watching them slowly come together. I love that. Favorite types of books are like that, and this does that so well. Hero's perspective was one of my favorites because theirs was like recordings basically, and so you got Hero's perspectives, but then you also got Leto, who was listening to Hero's recordings as you the reader were. And yeah, I just thought that was really interesting and well done, and I loved that. I also really liked the discussions around class and privilege that this book explored, and the fact that it did it in this like really fascinating and totally unique universe. So yeah, overall I would highly recommend this to anyone who is just looking for a really solid, good sci-fi story, and especially one that is a queer sci-fi story. You should definitely pick this one up. It is fantastic. Then I read Kingdom of the Wicked, which I read because of Amun, who I adore her recommendations. I've read other books that Amun has recommended before and loved them. Unfortunately, this one was a miss for me, and honestly this was 100% my fault, because rewatching her original TikTok, she literally says in there that it is like, she compares it to Serpent and Dove, which is a book that I did not particularly like. So I really should have like heeded that and probably not have picked this one up. But at the same time, like I did have fun reading it. Like I didn't hate this book by any means. It was a good time. I just like found some inconsistencies within the plot, and I just wasn't really sold on the romantic pairing in the book. And like honestly, like so much of this book really hinges on you like being invested in the romantic element, but the story, like the world and the magic, like I loved that. I thought that was really well done. But yeah, I am still on the hunt for some really good enemies to lovers stories. If you have any recommendations, please leave them down below. I'm always looking for more, and I like right now especially, like that is what I want to be reading, but I just like I don't know what to read, because I feel like oftentimes when it comes to like enemies to lovers, like I need more of the enemy part. And then the last book that I will be discussing is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This book broke me like 100%. It's I just keep reading the last like page of this book and crying at like 2 a.m. listening to my Song of Achilles playlist, which yes, I will link down below in case you want to check it out. And if you've read this book, you can feel all of the feelings. I can no longer listen to that Achilles song. What is it called? I think it's like Achilles Fall Down, or I don't remember, but every time I listen to it now, I'm like, I just weep. So yeah, as you saw in this video, I obviously had completely kind of forgotten like Achilles' entire story. Like, I don't know how, but it was like it just blipped out of my mind. And so I started this book and I was like, oh, I love them, I want good things for them. And then I like had this moment where I was like, oh wait, girl. And I'll also say that like I vaguely remember reading the Iliad when I was in high school, but do I remember a single thing? No, I sure don't. And I do think that there are parts of this where I fell off, like where it kind of lost me a bit, like once they go off to war, where I think if I had remembered the Iliad better, like some of that would have been more impactful, or I just would have like fallen into all that a bit better. However, even despite all of that, like even like my brain is saying, oh, give this 4 stars, but my heart refuses and says give it 5 stars, because this book just like seared itself onto my soul. I feel like it's so rare for me. Like I read a lot of books that have romance in them, and you know, I'll feel the romance and I will like root for them and like be all into the angst and everything, but it's very rare for me to just like to feel a love story the way that I felt this one. I don't really know how to explain it, but I loved it so much. And like especially like after reading this and doing more research on Achilles, which is something that I've never really done before, and learning about like how his sexuality and his relationship with Patroclus has, you know, basically been erased. Like you have historians who refuse to acknowledge that potentially they were in a relationship together, Hollywood calling them cousins. Like it's so frustrating. And so I'm really happy that this narrative exists and that it's such a big story. I will say I do have one criticism, but probably my biggest criticism, or like maybe not criticism, but like wish, is that I would love to see like a queer man's interpretation of this story as opposed to a woman's. So that is like one thing I wanted to throw out there. And if there are books like that, please definitely let me know. I'd love to check them out, because I loved them. I loved their story, but I think it's one that I'd love to see represented in an own voices capacity also. What else do I want to say about this book? Oh, the thing that I love about this book is how much it portrays the softness of Achilles. You know, I love how it builds him up and shows all of the like gentle parts of his personality before you go into war. And so you see him, you know, playing the lyre, I forget how you say that instrument, but you see like those softer parts of him, and then you see like how the world really only seems to value the like destructive part, the like fighter. And I loved everything that Madeline Miller was saying about that and about like toxic masculinity, and I feel like that's a big part of what this book is about. And I just thought all of that was so incredibly brilliant and just broke my heart. Truly. So yeah, those were all of the books that I read. I had so much fun doing this and just like finally picking up all these books that I've put on my TBR because of TikTok and getting to just read them and talk about them with you all. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Like, are there any books that you picked up because of TikTok? What did you think of them? Are there any BookTok creators who you really love? Let me know in the comments. Have you read any of the books that I talked about in this video? I'd love to hear your thoughts on those. And I will talk to y'all next time. Bye!